Good morning to everybody. Hello, our good readers, listeners, and friends. It's Kagylokurt audio edition, and this is issue number 56, The Phenomena of Migrations, with Mr. Gezerat's editor-in-chief. Good morning, Mr. Raz.
Greetings to everyone.
This is a very intense period for all of us. Everybody is migrating, immigrants, refugees all over the place, and it seems it has been going on for ages. Can you tell us in a serious way about your edition, number 56, and your approach, your research, please?
Well, I think your remark was very reasonable, because actually the topic of the issue is the migration, but migration again, because this is not a historical perspective. Sometimes happened at the beginning of European culture that some tribes from the Orient arrived and then something happened. So this is not only history, but it's permanently going on, even as a social or a sociological or a political issue, it's going on. But what more, it's like an exchange of cultures, and definitely an exchange of information, an exchange of times and spaces. So we try to show this multi-layer structure of migration, how ideas, how people, how levels of consciousness migrate, move from one direction to the other. And I think this is a very essential point.
It's extraordinary. It can be mind-blowing. Now, is there any relevance to the directions, like east and west or north and south? Are they changing in centuries, millennia? What is your observation and research?
Well, I have an idea, observing the grand phases of the history of humanity, that somehow a starting point or a point of origin was somewhere there in the Middle East or on the Far East. Then after some centuries or millennia, let's say, this focus of attention was transferred more to the Middle East, and then to the Hellenistic culture, to the Mediterranean, like the Roman Empire, etc. And later on, the continental Europe started to have a dominance, and after a few hundred years, as the geographical travels started to happen, this focus moved more to the west, to the Atlantic cultures, or like the British Empire started to dominate the whole world, and then it was transferred to America. Then after the Second World War, some major Asian powers raised, like Japan, and now China and India also. So we can say that this center point of attention and power and influence is somehow slowly revolving around the planet Earth, and now it looks like returning to the Orient. But what is the plus of the Orient? What is the surplus that it's got?
Yeah.
It's not only a technological surplus, but it's a mystic and a spiritual surplus. So we can very much expect that after all these different phases of cultural gradations, now we move to a higher grade, a higher octave of something spiritual. So we can very well expect from the dominance of the Orient some spiritual surplus to the present day history of the humanity. So this we can also consider like a migration of power centers, migration of influence, and a return of the spirit again.
So, in different periods, different places were considered a center, and a periphery. And you mentioned that some of those centripetal and not centrifugal, it means centered, focused attention and efforts were based on religion and faith. And in other periods, maybe they were more focused on political power or commerce, trade. Yeah, what's the main thing about this movement? What is your research showing?
Well, I think we believe, generally in the West, we believe in the progress of scientific and technical evolution.
Yeah, like technocratic approach, huh?
Correct. But there is another major point of view which observes a degradation, that in the far past some higher type of civilization, higher type of culture existed, and slowly we sink into the crude matter. So these are like basic visions about the path of history, about the tendencies of the history, and mankind included. But either this way or that way, we have our present situation right now, which is heavily bombarded by political conflicts, by ecological tragedies, and also by individual problems. Because the more we achieve technologically, the more we lose individually and psychologically. So this tendency that had started, let's say, 500 years back in the West, looks like comes to an end, comes to a new chapter. And therefore, this spiritual contribution of the Orient, and now I'm talking in general, not bound to any type of religion, but spiritually in general.
Yes.
I think this contribution will help to come to a new chapter of humanity, where we can find a new synthesis of the positive scientific and technological achievements, plus revive the importance of the spiritual side.
Like a final question, can we ask? There is an external migration, and we are all moving physically. Maybe there is some inner movement, like migrating to. When you were talking about change, I was thinking, will we have the capacity to embrace this change? Will we be able to make the shift? Because there is the opportunity, but we have to migrate to this opportunity, because if we are all in the problems and stressed out in the conflicts, we won't be able to get it.
Correct. Definitely. Therefore, we try to cover all these different gradations of this migration. Therefore, we discussed politica sacra, or the sacred politics, which is very unusual from a such type of magazine.
Yeah, what is that? Sacred politics? It's like sacrilegious is our politics.
Yeah, absolute antagonism. But it's not, because politics in general means that we pay attention on the social and the society issues. And this should be based on some sacred convictions, on some spiritual understanding. So from that very superficial or very external approach,
like materialistic,
we try to come to an internal, a more refined understanding of all this movement and search and progress. And ultimately we arrived through a historical perspective on migrations, through a blue economics, through discussing the fundaments of a philosophy, of a paradigm, and a fundamentalist approach. So you can see the different gradations, and finally we came to the discussion of human happiness, human contentment. And I think this is the one of the major points that moves people in general for this inner migration in search of happiness, in search of fulfillment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ratz, Editor-in-Chief, Kagylokurt. Your magazine's name, title, it meant the conch, so I was just thinking that like you're inviting us from the conch like a call to enter deep and spiral inwards to the deeper part, like enter the conch.
I think this is a very good point that you say, and don't forget, the conch shell also symbolizes the victory of the spirit or the soul over the matter. So definitely, this is another type of migration from the external to the essential points.
That was excellent. Thank you for this message, and you can visit us on kagylokurt.hu and there find the contacts. Please order the issues, find a person, call them on the phone and say, I want to have your excellent magazine in my home, at my place, and share with others. Thank you.
Have a happy reading.
Thank you.
Thank you for your attention.